Bulavinaka, my name is Litia and I'm from the beautiful island of Laos and I love listening to Today FM. Today FM rock.
My name is Casey, I'm from Tabua. We love Today FM in Tabua. Today FM rocks.
My name is Selina, I'm from Tavenga Vengamba. I love listening to Today FM. Today FM rocks.
Pula, my name is Carlo. I love listening to the music in Today FM, in Malak Island. Today FM rock.
Today's hit music on Today FM.
In the news tonight, teachers English below standard, says PS. Water Authority to improve aging infrastructure. And police to focus on community policing this year.
From the studios of FBC Suba, Amrita Sagar.
The Education Ministry has revealed the standard of written and spoken English by teachers in the country has dropped. The ministry recently introduced an English proficiency exam and a job test for new teacher graduates. Those that fail this may be forced to look for another job. Savara Tambua with this report.
New teacher graduates may lose their job if they fail the 2 exams provided by the Education Ministry during the school holidays. Permanent Secretary for Education Yuan Nitiko told FBC News there's a need to promptly address the issue of graduates' poor English language skills.
As we're recruiting teachers, there are a lot of applicants coming in, and if someone fails the test, then he drops out, or he can go and find employment somewhere else. For the teaching position, we've set that benchmark, the English proficiency test and the job test to be 2 of the assessments that needs to be passed by anyone who needs to become a teacher. So he needs to pass both of those before he can register with the Fiji Teacher Registration Authority.
Tiko says many graduates don't understand the mechanism and the communication protocol of the ministry. These exams will ensure graduates meet the standard required by the ministry.
It all depends on them. Some of them will sit once and they feel that they would leave it there and move on. We accept it. Some want to have another second chance at it. We will reset the dates and also reset the test paper and the job test contents.
The Education Ministry is currently screening the job test exams that were sat by the new recruits, and once it's finalized, then the numbers of the graduates will be confirmed. Those that pass will be given their new teaching posts. Sabera Tambua, FBC News.
The Water Authority hopes 2018 will be a year they focus on upgrading its aging infrastructure. WEF Board Director Kamal Gandhar says the Nangando treatment plant in Nandi, which is 15 years old, is one of the most important aging infrastructure which needs repairs. Pranita Prakash reports.
The Water Authority's board director says they are investing heavily into the Nangando treatment plant, which supplies water to thousands of residents in Nandi and Lotoka.
Authority, the infrastructure is getting very aged right now, so most of we are looking at upgrading all our infrastructure at Water Authority, and this is one of the examples that we are facing now, that we have heavily invested.
He adds WEF plans to have a backup for the Nangando water treatment plant by next year.
In future, in the next budget, we'll be also putting it, having a separate line, another line coming out from Nangando treatment plant. At the moment, there is only one one line coming out, so there is no backup at but that's a planned project that we want to undertake from next year.
The Water Authority says Nangando treatment plant needs to be repaired by next month.
Minor leakage, it's developing now, so we observed this couple of months now. So even we can, we can go up to February without any problem. That is, we are sure. We have sure, but it's safe if we do it in February, because if it further develops, it can be a
major disaster.
Problem. Yes.
As a result of these repairs, around 150,000 residents will face water disruptions for 4 days from February 3rd to 6th. This excludes Lotoka city centre and some of its outer boundaries, including Tomuka, Wayavi Stage 5, Sarubek Road, Vunato to Tendamu. However, Nandi will have water completely shut down including Denarau Island. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
29 air terminal services workers have returned to work so far after signing the letter drafted by the board. These workers have also accepted the ATS chairman's conditional offer of no termination or victimization. In a statement released today, the company has confirmed 2 allegations of sexual harassment that were received last year. The first alleged incident occurred on November 7th, which was handled by police and is currently being investigated by the department manager. On November 10th, the alleged employee was suspended. The second alleged incident occurred in early October. However, the matter was not brought to the attention of the manager until the 1st of December. The matter was also handled by the police and the alleged employee was suspended as well. Meanwhile, ATS says it remains committed to continue to discuss pay rates and other conditions of work that is bothering employees. The police force will try and make all efforts this year to gain the confidence and trust of the public. Police Chief of Operations Rusiata Tundravu says 2018 is an important year, especially with the general election ahead of us. Savara Tambor reports.
The police force will focus on strengthening its community policing this year, as well as patrol our roads to avoid careless mistakes by motorists and work with stakeholders to ensure the country is safe ahead of the general election.
It's another tempo for president. It's very important for us. This year is very important because of the general election. What we are trying to do now is to provide that environment so that everything is stable before we have a general election. Our intention right now is to do a lot of enforcement.
This loss of 70 lives on our roads last year is also a concern for the force.
So far we have noted the conduct of drivers on the road. There's a lot of traffic infringement and the booking so far. And then we have seen that people, especially road users, are not obeying the national laws that covers the main roads.
The force is calling on the support from the public to ensure we live in a safer environment. Sabar Tambua, FBC News.
The total wholesale and retail sales for Fiji as of June quarter last year stood at $977.4 million. Comparing this to the same quarter in 2016, the Fiji Bureau of Statistics recorded an $8.7 million increase in total sales due to an increase in the sale of motor vehicles and automotive fuel. However, in comparison to the March quarter, total sales rose by $7.5 million only, due to increase in sale of hardware, material and automotive fuel. Statistics on sales of automotive fuel alone fell by 0.7%. The sales of food, non-alcoholic beverages, tobacco and alcoholic beverages increased by 1% or $2.7 million. Meanwhile, sales of motor vehicles fell by $0.9 million and the sale of hardware, paints and glass rose by 5.3% compared to 2017. This all covers registered businesses engaged in wholesale and retail trade. Still to come, Northern is advised to beware of typhoid cases. And we meet the RFMF band's first Bulgar player. Details after the break.
Bula, kera mai singatoka, kera ndo tali taka na varorong na radio Fijian and the moi viti.
Ayaw na rin siya. Kombinasyon ko lang ndo tali taka na radio Fijian kina ndo moi viti.
Yang kuya zo silil tali, nagurara mai na omanyi, nandonga. Gitu tali tagi yang gitu Venezuela pun nagudorong, barong na radio Fijian ndo moi viti.
Na radio Fijian ndo moi viti na bonga ni BNN.
Fijians, especially those living in the rural areas, are advised to practice safe hygiene following reports of typhoid fever in the northern division. The Health Ministry is warning the public that with more rain expected this cyclone season, there's an increased risk of spread to other areas that have a big population. Akusita Tale reports.
Around 12 villages in the north were identified by the Health Ministry as hotspot areas for typhoid fever last year. Acting National Advisor Communicable Diseases Dr. Alisha Sahu Khan says most cases received were a result of mass gatherings, including those conducted during the festive season.
There is no outbreak of typhoid fever. We are experiencing cases in certain villages that are related to each other. So what happens is that, especially over the festive period, we have events, mass gatherings, people come together for Christmas, and then they go back to their own settlements, and then they come down with typhoid fever. But it's all related to those particular villages.
In the first week of this month, 5 confirmed cases were received from Natua village in Savu-Savu, which has been attempted to promptly. Health Minister Rosie Akbar says this should not only concern residents in the north, but those in other parts of the country, including the maritime zones.
Of typhoid, it's a basic hygiene practice. Wash your hands, before cooking or handling food, going to the washroom, going to the loo. You really need to wash your hands. So these are some basic, safe hygiene practices that can help us in avoiding typhoid cases.
The Northern Division Outbreak Response Team is working promptly to address the typhoid cases in the Northern Division. Akbar says the ministry will continue to closely monitor the typhoid cases and is committed to provide the necessary treatment and support required. Akusita Tale, FBC News.
Prime Minister Varinga Bainimarama is calling on all Fijians to stand together as one nation in building the new Fiji. Speaking at the Ramlila celebration in Singatoka last night, Bainimarama called on Fijians to choose progress over prejudice and dirty politics. He says that with elections later this year, Fijians will be confronted with old forces that will seek to cause division and hold the nation back from our journey to the future. Bainimarama says Fijians must reject this backwards way of thinking.
We must renew our commitment to one another as Fijians and as men and women dedicated to the betterment of our nation. We must continue our work to make Fiji a better, safer and more inclusive nation. We must continue the sound financial management and planning that has carried our economy to such success.
Success is the result of perfection, hard work, learning from failure, loyalty and persistence. In our Successful Fijian tonight, we take a look at the journey of 78-year-old Chopeweli, a retired officer of the Republic of Fiji Military Forces Tatu Band. Kelly Vedala with his story.
Successful Fijians is brought to you by the Fiji Development Bank, your partner in progress.
As a young boy growing up in the island of Kandavu, Chopeweli had only one goal in mind, to live in a big city and travel the world. His dreams came true when he joined the RFMF band and became the first Bulgar player performing in many countries overseas while serving alongside his military brothers.
Richmond Methodist School.
I attended Richmond Methodist School, and at that time classes only went up till class 8. In 1958, I left Kandavu to come to Suva and start work at the Public Works Department. After 3 years of apprentice, I tried out for the Fiji military. In 1961, I got recruited, and after 3 months, I went in as a regular and immediately joined the band team because I always loved music. 10 years I stayed with the RFMF band, and then I was transferred to another unit, but I kept coming back to the band.
Welly says he learned to play other musical instruments when he traveled overseas, meeting with other musicians. He says this was one of the greatest achievements of his life.
Most of my time was always with the military band, and it took me places I never dreamt of going. As a boy from Kandavu, I never really knew how other countries were like, but I was fortunate enough that my love for music took me places. The first military tattoo I went was in New Zealand. Then we were called to go to London and perform there, then to Scotland, and then America.
Well, he says that apart from playing in the band, he also got other opportunities to be part of overseas peacekeeping missions, helping his colleagues with supplies needed to equip them well before they leave for the battlefield.
Working in the Middle East, I was in the ordnance section, making sure I prepared everything the soldiers needed on the field, whether it be getting their uniforms, beddings, food, field supplies, or anything they need on the battlefield. If it wasn't available, I would make sure they got it on time.
He dedicated his success to his family for their patience while he was overseas and away on band duties.
I retired in 2005. I got married in 1972 and had 3 kids. My long service in the military made me save up and start a new life in the city. And now my kids are overseas and successful. And I'm happy I provided them with a life I didn't have as a kid.
Welly's advice is to simply never give up even if the road seems tough.
Just work hard and work smart. Always stay loyal and be true to your job because that's your bread and butter every day. Be patient when faced with many challenges that might come your way because it's only you who will reap the end result.
Welly is now the oldest and only surviving RFMF military Tatu Bulgar player since the 70s. He plans to spend the remaining years of his life alongside his wife, children and grandchildren. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
Successful Fijians is brought to you by the Fiji Development Bank, your partner in progress.
Up ahead in sports, Lambasa coach happy with first CBC outing.
Moala rara ranavika, o tikongona taunu singatoka, ando talisaka na wakaronga ng Bula FM, number 2 na sere.
We are the Ratsubuli Kurnabili, Iborani Batsukara Hambara Binanga, the Taltakina na wakaronga ng Bula FM, number 2 na sere. Bula!
Bula FM, number 2 na sere.
The Lambasa side is now ready for the second match in the Pillay Garments Champion versus Champion next weekend. Lambasa head coach Bal Sanju Reddy says he's happy with the team's performance. Luciana Tangindakimbao reports.
Despite a 0-0 draw in the first Champion versus Champion fixture yesterday, head coach Sanju Bala says the team played well despite playing without their experienced players.
It's a good one. I think Lambasa played very well, but unfortunately our finishing let us down. But I'm proud that the boys played really well and came to the expectation of the crowd. And Lotoka like being a very formidable side and getting all those big names in and playing a friendly international and then preparing for the whole league. I think our team did very well.
Bala adds he's aware of the players' fitness and will work on it.
As far as the concern is at the moment, the concern number one is the finishing where we missed about 6 golden opportunities to score. So I really need to work on to that finishing and then also a little bit of fitness level is a concern to me after the players coming back from the festive season.
He says the Lambasa team will work on the weaknesses to help better their performance.
To regroup the team and get with those weaker points and work onto it so that come the next CVC we should be able to have a good game against Lotoka because playing Lotoka in their home ground is always tough.
The next game of the Pillay Garments Champion versus Champion will be held at Lotoka's Churchill Park at 7 p.m. next week Friday. Luciana Tangivakimbao, FBC Sports.
Fijian Rua loose forward Penny Raindre is looking forward to this year's rugby season. Raindre, who currently plays for the Army Red, says there will be tough competitors fighting for the white jumper this year when the National Rugby Championship resumes in October.
26-year-old military officer Penny Raindre is already looking forward to what this year's rugby union season holds. Raindre hopes representing and showcasing his best skills in Army Reds during the Suva Rugby Union 10s along with other local competitions will get him the green light for a second-year stint with the Fijian Rua.
It's going to benefit for Fiji Rugby because everyone is going to try and put their hand up for the NRC, especially the skipper season. So it's going to put a lot of onus on each player to step up and do much better to book a spot in the team. And we can confirm myself for the season next year.
Raindre says he will do all his best this season to improve from last year's NRC performance.
Trying myself for the 15th team, obviously if it comes around, but for now I just love playing for the Army team and obviously see what comes after playing for the Army in the Super Provincial team.
Meanwhile, Army Reds head coach Ulayasi Rambesa says they have recruited new young players this year.
We have some of the new players here in the Army and we're trying to groom them to not only represent the Army but to also don the national jersey.
The Army Red team hopes to better their performance on the field this year, as they also look forward to the Ascot Shield and the Sukuna Bowl Challenge later in the year. Luciana Tangivakimbao, FBC Sports.
The Nandronga rugby team is confident of another good outing when this year's rugby season begins. The team has been in top form to maintain their position, being in the top of the points table for the past years, especially in the Skipper Cup and Fair Brother competition. 170 players are in the Nandronga team and have been representing the club for the past years. Majority of the players in the team are local reps. Roy Krishna's goal in the A-League competition wasn't enough to secure a win for his Wellington Phoenix side as they went down to Melbourne City 2-1. Meanwhile, in other A-League matches, Adelaide United have shot up to third in the A-League after an impressive 3-0 win on the road over Perth Glory on Friday night, with Western Sydney Wanderers beating Brisbane Roar earlier in the night to move into the top 6. Perth were in desperate need of a win coming off the back of a 6-0 thumping at the hands of Sydney FC. But just inside 10 minutes of the game, their hopes of a positive start were dashed. Generally fine weather prevailed over most parts of the country today, apart from a few afternoon or evening showers. In the west, it was mostly cloudy today with a slight drizzle in most centres. However, Bar recorded the highest temperature of the day at 33 degrees. Eastwards from Pacific Harbour to Suva, it was also more of the same. We can expect some showers later tonight though. And up in the north, cloudy conditions with evening showers was experienced during the day. At sea, southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, moderate to rough seas. For the tides, high tide will be at 1:05 p.m. tomorrow with low tide later in the evening at 5:59. Sunrise will be at 6:42. As for the further outlook, brief showers of the eastern parts and the interior of the larger islands is expected. Afternoon or evening showers and thunderstorms are expected elsewhere. Recapping the main stories, teaches English below standard, says PS. Water Authority to improve ageing infrastructure, and police to focus on community policing this year. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station, Gold FM. Top poll question. This week we're asking, were you happy with the police patrol over the festive season? Visit our FBC website to answer. You can also send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our Facebook page FBC News, or you can also follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC News or simply hashtag FBC News. And that was your FBC News for tonight. Until next time, good night.
मैं प्रेमिला वायरुकू रेकी रेकी से सुबह मेरी आँख खुलती है तो मैं मिर्ची FM सुनती हूँ। मिर्ची FM is number 1. It's so hot.
हम लोग बार टाउन के कैरियर ड्राइवर लोगों ने हम लोग के मिर्ची FM सुनो अच्छा लगे। मिर्ची FM is hot.
हाय, मैं संध्या नारिया रेफरी से मेरे सारे दोस्त मिर्ची FM सुनते हैं। मिर्ची FM is hot. I love मिर्ची FM.
हमें स्पिन टोटो हुआ कि मिर्ची FM में सबसे अच्छा गाना बजे।
Mirchi FM, it's hot.